These words made a favorable impression on behalf of the accused. I demand, then, that the examination shall take place as soon as possible, and I will furnish the House with all necessary information. What day do you fix? Asked the President. Today I am at your service, replied the Count. The President rang the bell. Does the House approve that the examination should take place today? Yes, was the unanimous answer. A committee of 12 members was chosen to examine the proofs brought forward by Mercer. The investigation would begin at 8 o'clock that evening in the committee room, and if postponement were necessary, the proceedings would be resumed each evening at the same hour. Mercer asked leave to retire. He had to collect the documents he had long been preparing against this storm, which his sagacity had foreseen. Albert listened, trembling now with hope, then with anger, and then again with shame, for from Beecham's confidence he knew his father was guilty, and he asked himself how, since he was guilty, he could prove his innocence. Beecham hesitated to continue his narrative. What next? Asked Albert. What next? My friend, you impose a painful task on me. Must you know all? Absolutely, and rather from your lips than another's. Muster up all your courage, then, for never have you required it more. Albert passed his hand over his forehead, as if to try his strength, as a man who is preparing to defend his life proves his shield and bends his sword. He thought himself strong enough, for he mistook fever for energy. Go on, said he. The evening arrived, all Paris was in expectation. Many said your father had only to show himself to crush the charge against him, many others said he would not appear, while some asserted that they had seen him start for Brussels, and others went to the police office to inquire if he had taken out a passport. I used all my influence with one of the committee, a young peer of my acquaintance, to get admission to one of the galleries. He called for me at 7 o'clock, and, before anyone had arrived, asked one of the doorkeepers to place me in a box. I was concealed by a column, and might witness the whole of the terrible scene which was about to take place. At 8 o'clock all were in their places, and M. de Mercer entered at the last stroke. He held some papers in his hand, his countenance was calm, and his step firm, and he was dressed with great care in his military uniform, which was buttoned completely up to the chin. His presence produced a good effect. The committee was made up of liberals, several of whom came forward to shake hands with him. Albert felt his heart bursting at these particulars, but gratitude mingled with his sorrow. He would gladly have embraced those who had given his father this proof of esteem at a moment when his honor was so powerfully attacked. At this moment one of the doorkeepers brought in a letter for the president.
"You are at liberty to speak, M. de Mercer," said the president, as he unsealed the letter, and the count began his defense, "I assure you, Albert, in a most eloquent and skillful manner."
He produced documents proving that the vizier of Yanina had up to the last moment honored him with his entire confidence, since he had interested him with a negotiation of life and death with the emperor. He produced the ring, his mark of authority, with which Ali Pasha generally sealed his letters, and which the latter had given him, that he might, on his return at any hour of the day or night, gain access to the presence, even in the harem. Unfortunately, the negotiation failed, and when he returned to defend his benefactor, he was dead. "But," said the count, "so great was Ali Pasha's confidence, that on his deathbed he resigned his favorite mistress and her daughter to my care." Albert started on hearing these words. The history of Haiti recurred to him, and he remembered what she had said of that message and the ring, and the manner in which she had been sold and made a slave. "And what effect did this discourse produce?" anxiously inquired Albert. "I acknowledge it affected me, and, indeed, all the committee also," said Beecham. Meanwhile, the president carelessly opened the letter which had been brought to him, but the first lines aroused his attention. He read them again and again, and fixing his eyes on M. de Mercer, "Count," said he, "you have said that the vizier of Yanina confided his wife and daughter to your care?" "Yes, sir," replied Mercer, "but in that, like all the rest, misfortune pursued me." "On my return, Vasiliki and her daughter Haiti had disappeared. Did you know them? My intimacy with the Pasha and his unlimited confidence had gained me an introduction to them, and I had seen them above 20 times. Have you any idea what became of them? Yes, sir, I heard they had fallen victims to their sorrow, and, perhaps, to their poverty. I was not rich, my life was in constant danger, I could not seek them, to my great regret. The President frowned imperceptibly. Gentlemen, said he, you have heard the Comte de Mercer's defense. Can you, sir, produce any witnesses to the truth of what you have asserted? Alas, no, monsieur, replied the Count, all those who surrounded the Vizier, or who knew me at his court, are either dead or gone away, I know not where. I believe that I alone, of all my countrymen, survived that dreadful war. I have only the letters of Ali Tepelini, which I have placed before you, the ring, a token of his goodwill, which is here, and, lastly, the most convincing proof I can offer, after an anonymous attack, and that is the absence of any witness against my veracity and the purity of my military life. A murmur of approbation ran through the assembly, and at this moment, Albert, had nothing more transpired, your father's cause had been gained. It only remained to put it to the vote, when the President resumed. Gentlemen, and you, monsieur, you will not be displeased, I presume, to listen to one who calls himself a very important witness, and who has just presented himself. He is, doubtless, come to prove the perfect innocence of our colleague. Here is a letter I have just received on the subject. Shall it be read, or shall it be passed over? And shall we take no notice of this incident?
M. de Mercer turned pale, and clenched his hands on the papers he held.
The committee decided to hear the letter. The Count was thoughtful and silent. The President read. Mr. President, I can furnish the Committee of Inquiry into the conduct of the Lieutenant General the Count of Mercer in Epirus and in Macedonia with important particulars. The President paused, and the Count turned pale. The President looked at his auditors. Proceed, was heard on all sides. The President resumed. I was on the spot at the death of Ali Pasha. I was present during his last moments. I know what is become of Vasiliki and Haiti. I am at the command of the committee, and even claim the honor of being heard. I shall be in the lobby when this note is delivered to you. And who is this witness, or rather this enemy? Asked the Count, in a tone in which there was a visible alteration. We shall know, sir, replied the President. Is the committee willing to hear this witness? Yes, yes, they all said at once. The doorkeeper was called.